Hello friends. In today's video, I did 3 spindle projects. Spindle projects, you say? You're surprised? No, I know you're not, because you know I love my spindles. But I also am giving you a tour of the salon where I do hair, because I'm going to try and give this salon a little decor makeover. I love the colors in it, and there are some elements in there that I absolutely love, but the decor, it's been in there a while and it needs an update. It needs refreshed. It needs a little, makeover. So I'm gonna show the video of it in the beginning, little tour. It's a very small room. And then the next few videos, I'm going to be making some decor for it. And then in the last video, you'll see the final makeover of the salon suite. So let's get crafting. Okay, let's take a little tour of the salon suite where I work. I made this little curtain out of pieces of fabric, and I just have a few little things in my windowsill. I don't have much room to decorate. I do have a few of my little products there. I have pictures of my family. I have some things that clients have given me over the years that I like to display. I do love my clock that I purchased at Aldi. You can see it's noon o'clock as I'm taking this video. I am going to paint this little table that I got from Wayfair. I love my little curtain on the window. I do have this mandatory sign about human trafficking that needs to be displayed a little bit more decoratively. The aprons need to be hung on something a little more attractive. I do love this little narrow desk that I have. And these decorative items have just been in here for a while. I'm a little bit over them. I need a new place to put my pencils. I do love my little business card holder. But some things just need to be made over. Just needs a fresh look. So let's get started on our first DIY. These spindles that I've been using up in my stash, and I have made a pretty good dent in them, but this is just one that I cut down, and I'm going to sand the top of it so it's not quite so sharp and it's a little bit more rounded. I'm going to sand the bottom edges so they're not quite so square. It's just a look I'm going for. And then I'm going to sand all the edges so it's a little bit more smooth and a little bit easier to paint. And I have this little piece of scrap wood and this beautiful decorative knob that I got at Hobby Lobby on clearance once upon a time, and it's been in my stash. This little piece of scrap wood is still some of that old broken down swing set you've heard me talk about if you've been watching my videos for a while, and I'm still using some of those pieces. I love that it has all the old nail holes and all of that character in it. And I'm trying to decide which side of this I'm going to use. So I'm sanding both sides, and I'm not trying to get it smooth. I'm just trying to get some of the dirt and the grunge off of it. And so I really like that hole up there at the top and on that side. And then, but I really like all the holes on this side. I'm really trying to decide, and I end up going with this side. And I'm going to take some weathered wood that's been watered down, and when I have just a little bit of paint left in a jar, I usually will just water it down and use it as my watered down version. And then I'm going to take dark wax by DIY and give it a good coat front, back, and sides. Now I'm going to take Farm Fresh, which was one of my favorite paint colors from DIY, and I'm going to paint this little spindle completely, the entire thing, with Farm Fresh. I'm not going to show you all of that painting, but that's what I did. I'm going to take Beadboard by DIY, and I'm going to dry brush my board, my plank, and the spindle. I'm going to put very, very lightly on the plank of wood. And then I'm going to kind of do a little bit of white wash. So I'm going to dry brush it on there, and then I'm going to wipe off. So it's a little bit of a dry brush and a whitewash. And I like the way that this looks. I didn't want it to look too dark or too light. Still going to take the beadboard and this little chippy brush, and I'm going to hit those high spots on this little spindle just to highlight it so it doesn't look all flat in one color. It looks much more attractive. Plus, we're going to put that white decorative knob on here, and I think it's just going to bring out all the colors and just make it be, you know, look like it all goes together. Now, I'm going to take clear wax by DIY. I have my brushes marked so that I use them, the same ones all the time, for the same color waxes. And then I'm going to take a clean little piece of an old t-shirt and buff it. Now, I'm looking for my drill bit that's going to be the same size, because I'm just going to drill the hole all the way through this spindle, and then I'm going to stick this little knob all the way through. So I put that down. I make a little hole where I want to drill it, seeing if that's where I want it. Yep, that's where I want it. And then I'm going to, once I get the hole drilled, I decide that I'm going to just put glue all over everything. And then I'm going to do a little hot glue for a quick hold as well. Not realizing that that beautiful little decorative piece doesn't cover this entire solid piece of the spindle. So you'll see how I remedy my little mistake. You know, I kind of like to leave my boo-boos in so you can see how you can always fix it and make it work. So about right here is where I realize, oh, that's not going to work. So I take it off and I just go ahead and stick it down there. Now, I think I realized that I'm going to need a little bit more hot glue on there. The hot glue got dry too quickly, so I just went ahead and applied a little bit more glue and then stuck that side down on the wood. See, fixed that little boo-boo. No worries. It was going to need to be glued down there anyway. So now I'm just going to put a little hot glue. Oops. Please don't drop it on there. And it already has enough of the Titebond Quick and Thick on there. And we're just going to stick that down. Now I'm going to use the Titebond Quick and Thick all over this bolt. And it's going to be down in that hole that we drilled with the drill, and it's going to hold very nicely. And this piece is finished. It's going to look beautiful in my salon suite. The next spindle DIY already had that hole in it because, you know, those cross rungs for the chair had that. I love the end of this. You know, the other end is the cut end where I cut it. And I'm going to leave that top just like that because I love that character. And I'm going to leave that hole because I picked up this little knob at my Habitat for Humanity Restore. I think that's what it's called, right? And it was like 50 cents. And then I have this little block. I got these on clearance at Home Depot, I believe, one time. And I took this little round slice. This was one of those in a pack at Dollar Tree, and they were those stickers, and this was the lemon. It was the whole slice of lemon, and I just glued it down in the center, and then I took some wood putty and filled in around the edges. Then I painted the entire thing with beadboard, and now I'm going to take weathered wood, and I'm just going to dry brush around the edges, and I'm going to use Elmer's glue to do the crackle method. I don't want this to be stark white. I wanted it to have a little bit of aging look to it because I'm going for a rustic, shabby chic look. I like shabby chic, but I don't want it to be too clean and too prim and proper. I want it to be a little rustic. So I have a little bit of watered down Elmer's glue in this little silicone muffin, it's not a muffin tin, little muffin cup, and I'm just putting it a thin coat on. I'm not putting a very thick coat on. I'm putting it on the sides and a little bit across the top here. I'm not doing it in the middle because that spindle is going to be sitting on top of this little block. It's going to be our base. Then I'm taking that beadboard again, and I'm trying to be very careful to only do one swipe across. Now I'm doing this while that Elmer's glue is still wet. Before the Elmer's glue dries, I'm doing this, and I'm doing a pretty thick coat of the paint across that glue. Be sure to watch next week's video when I will be doing the 5th Sunday Craft with Friends, a new collab I started at the beginning of the year. For every quarter, there's a 5th Sunday, and I'm taking getting together some friends, and we are crafting the same products and putting our own spin on it. Okay, so back to our little project here, getting that paint on there, and then we're going to see the crackle. I like to add my heat gun to it because it helps the crackle a little bit. You can see there where I sat it down on the table, it kind of messed the paint up a little bit, but that's okay. We'll remedy that shortly. I'm going to take some Titebond Quick and Thick and add it to some cheap air dry clay that I have by Crayola, and I'm going to fix this hole. I'm not going to fix it. I'm going to make it work with that little knob. So I put some of the Titebond in the hole. I'm going to add some Titebond to the clay. I'm going to knead that Titebond into the clay. Surely made a mess on my hands, but guess what? It washes right off with some warm water. I'm going to knead it up in there, and I'm going to put that clay into that hole, and then I'm going to use this little spatula to even it off. And then once it's dry, I'm just going to lightly sand over it to make it smooth. Then, well, it's not completely dry, but it's dry to the touch. And then I'm going to put that little knob in there, take off the excess clay that oozed out, and then that's going to dry over time. It's going to take it a little while to dry completely all the way through. I'm going to find the center in this little base block that we've created and drill a hole. And then I'm going to very lightly sand. And so that is where I fixed that little boo-boo where the paint kind of smeared a little bit. I'm going to take my drill. I'm going to drill a hole in the bottom of that spindle the same size as the hole in the base. And I'm going to use a little skewer to attach the base to the spindle. If you've never seen me do this process, you know, I do this a lot to attach things because I feel like it makes it a little more sturdy. Look at the top of that spindle. I just love the rustic look of that. Okay, now that piece is finished, but we're going to add some embellishment. We're going to use these 3 colors, and we're going to start with crinoline. And I have these little antique keys that I get them on Amazon, and I've had them for quite a while. They're in my Amazon store if you're interested. I have a couple different sizes in there. Crinoline, and then I'm going to use some weathered wood and some old school, and I'm just dabbing it on in different places so you can see a little bit of all the colors shining through. Yeah, weatherwood, old school. I think I used old school, layered chocolate. I don't remember all the colors I used. Just whatever colors suit your fancy to make them look however you want. Now, this is the Shipwrecked Wax by DIY. And I'm just going to put it in just a few little places because it makes it look a little tarnished. And then just dab it with a little old chippy brush. This was an old stencil brush that I turned, it gets old and worn out because, I don't really wash my brushes like I should. And then I don't treat my brushes very nicely sometimes, so they turn into chippy brushes. I have a whole bunch of chippy brushes. So anyway, I'm going to take this beautiful chiffon lace that I love. I get on Shein, and it's very inexpensive. And I'm just going to pull it through the 2 keys and tie a knot in it and hang it from our little spindle. And it just adds a perfect touch that I absolutely love. I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to tie a knot at the top. I'm actually going to tie a knot in the middle too so that the keys will not touch each other. They'll kind of stay apart from each other. And the lace is actually just thick enough through these small holes in the keys that it doesn't really slide around that much. But I did tie that knot in there to keep it from sliding around too much. So they would kind of stay, separate. And here it is all complete. Let me know what you think about this one in the comments below. Last but not least, and probably my favorite, is this one that I used these 2 spindles, and I had some inspiration from a picture that I had seen, and I filled in some of these holes because when I took this chair apart, some of them came out little pieces that held the legs together came out easy, and some of them didn't. And so I just filled all those in. And I was showing you that I tied strings around where I wanted to cut those. And I cut them because I wanted some of those longer blocks and some of those shorter blocks and the flat pieces, how I wanted to put it together. So I'm showing you here that I used those 2 spindle legs to make one long piece, and that I'm using the skewer to attach it all together. So I drill a hole, I put the skewer in, and then I'm going to use the miter shears. You can use some scissors or, you know, the little wire cutters. Those work good with these too. These are the larger barbecue skewers that Dollar Tree has out in the summertime. So I'm just checking to make sure that this is all going to work. I check them all out, and then I use the Titebond Quick and Thick to adhere it all together just like I did on the previous projects. I'm just making sure that it's all going to fit, and this is exactly how I wanted it. Perfectly. It looks like it was all one piece and supposed to be that way when I finished. Now on those flat pieces, I'm going to use these knobs that I got on clearance from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just looking to see what size drill bit I need so I can drill holes in all 3 of those flat sides. Now I'm going to use the Quick Bond to connect the pieces, and I love the Quick Bond because it sets up really quickly, and it is a nice, tight, quick hold, just like it says. And then I use just a paintbrush to remove the excess, and we don't want to waste it, so we're going to use it on the next side. Okay. And same process for this one. I'm not sure why. I guess in case you didn't understand or didn't get it with the first one, I'll show you the second one. Same thing. And I just twisted it a little bit just to make sure that the glue got everywhere. Okay, it's all put together, and you can't even see where they're connected. It looks like it's supposed to be that way. Now I'm going to take this Rust-Oleum aged gray chalk paint. I've had this in my stash, and I still have a whole bunch left in that can. It's almost full. So I poured a little bit out, and I'm using this paintbrush I got from Sammy at unicorndustdesigns.com. That's where I get all my DIY paints, IOD, all the good things from her website. So I gave this all 2 good coats. It took 2 coats to cover that, and you can't even tell where those holes were. I'm showing you that I patched it up, and you can't even tell. I don't mind those other holes because they're going to be to the back. They're going to be on the back of the wall. Now I'm going to take beadboard, and I'm going to give it a very heavy chippy brush coat. I wouldn't even call it, I am doing dry brush, but I'm giving it a very heavy coat. I want to really be able to see the white, but I want to be able to see the gray through that. So I want it to be gray, but predominantly I really want you to see that white through there. So this is what it looks like when I'm done. I love it. And I love that crack in there. Now, I'm going to take clear wax by DIY, and I'm going to wax the entire piece. I'm putting quite a bit of wax on here. I'm getting it into all of those grooves in all the spindle parts. Now, I have these, I buy these on Amazon. They're very handy. They're sawtooth hangers without having to screw it. You just put them on here like this. You take your hammer and you hammer it in. Now, if the wood is really hard, they don't work that great. It works better on a softer wood. So I got those all nailed in, and now we are going to do these knobs the same way we did our previous knobs, and just put the glue on the threads and use a paintbrush to, get it evenly dispersed, spread it around, and then put it where we want it, all 3 of them, and look how pretty this is. I plan to use this in the salon to hang my aprons on, so be sure that you continue to watch my future videos so you can see the final reveal of the salon suite makeover. Okay, I hope you loved these spindle projects as much as I loved making them. Be sure that you leave a comment below, give this video a thumbs up, and make sure that you're subscribed. But most of all, above anything else, remember to be still and know that He is God.